Hi everyone. I just wanted to go over today what a power engineer is, as there seems to be very limited details as to how to become a power engineer, what power engineers are, what they do, and why you should become one. So I just brought up this beautiful picture here on the screen because I feel like this really tells the story of what a power engineer is and what they do. So this picture here is basically a refinery, and in refineries you have lots of process operators, and in Canada, these process operators are usually power engineers, usually fourth class or third class, and sometimes second or first class power engineers. So let's get to it. So what is a power engineer? Power engineers are qualified individuals who use their knowledge to safely operate high-pressure steam boilers and associated equipment. So what does that mean? A power engineer is a qualified individual. That means they are trained, they have the knowledge, and they have passed certain exams in order to gain a certificate of competency to operate high-pressure steam boilers. The associated equipment include fans and pumps and turbines and the process piping as well. So that's what a power engineer is. So what do power engineers do though? So a power engineer has quite a few opportunities available to them. This includes running high pressure steam boiler as mentioned earlier. So these steam boilers come in many different kinds of industries. So this includes heavy industrial processes, which include oil and gas, such as the refinery picture shown earlier. This would also include the midstream, such as pipes, and then the upstream, which includes the extraction of the oil and gas. So they also work in pulp and paper. They also have a role in electrical generation stations. So this being like um, generating electricity through the burning of natural gas or through um, the use of coal, which is a very outdated method. Power engineers can also go into the property management route. They also run buildings and facilities. In these types of roles, power engineers are more likely to do maintenance in a building. Buildings mostly have low pressure water hydronic heating. So these are water boilers, not really high pressure, unless you are in an older building where you might have the opportunity to interface with a high pressure heat exchanger or a high pressure boiler, but these are far and few. And then power engineers also have the opportunity to work in refrigeration plants. So here they are looking after ammonia, making sure that things are cold, as power engineers are capable and are skilled in the refrigeration cycle, and they are very well trained in how to respond to certain emergencies in refrigeration plants. So there are also a few more, which include nuclear power stations and power system operators, as well as working in laundry facilities, as well as hospital and universities. So being a power engineer is quite a multifaceted career. You have a lot of opportunity in front of you. You can go whichever route you want, and you don't have to stay in that route necessarily because there are always opportunities as long as you have your ticket, which is a certificate of competency which every power engineer needs in order to be certified. So here's a picture of a steam turbine. So the steam would pass through the turbine, which would spin essentially, and this turbine is likely connected along the shaft to a generator. This generator would be spinning in order to produce electricity. This electricity would be used inside this power plant in order to power its own equipment, or depending on what the use is, it could also be used to create electricity to sell back to the grid in order to meet peak demand loads for a city. Here are some buildings in a country somewhere, probably not Canada, as I don't recognize any of these buildings. But each one of these tall high rises most likely will have a power engineer or if not a power engineer, at least a maintenance tech of some sort to run the building. Power engineers are needed in these buildings because buildings have processes just like an industrial facility, and they need someone who is able to look after the process and troubleshoot and use the skills that they learn as a power engineer to make these buildings run essentially. The next one we'll look at, this is an LNG plant here. So LNG is basically the new oil and gas. In my opinion, it's not really new, but it's just natural gas being compressed to a certain pressure, and then it's being cooled down in order to make the gas into a liquid, and this is then used, and then this is shipped out all across the world. I don't work in an LNG plant, but that's my understanding of what an LNG plant is at the moment. If anyone needs more answers, let me know, and I can definitely research or do your own research and figure it out. So then we also have three guys walking around in a college here. So here we have power engineers working probably in this building somewhere, probably in a steam plant somewhere, to keep the buildings warm and to do some maintenance in the different facilities they have. Power engineers are very, very much in demand for these types of jobs, and it is very important to have one on staff essentially to make sure that your processes are well taken care of. So why you should become a power engineer? Well, number one, job satisfaction. Every power engineer that I know is satisfied with their job. I can't say there are many that I know that aren't satisfied with their job. It's challenging and complex, so every process is pretty different, and being different means there's lots of opportunities everywhere to really learn something new and be able to add value eventually. So that's another aspect of it, compensation. So power engineers make a lot of money for the amount of education they need. So a fourth class power engineer can make anywhere between $25 to $50, 25 being on the lower end. There's a low barrier to entry as tied in with the previous conversation. So the barrier to entry is only needing a fourth class ticket. So in order to get a fourth class ticket, all you need to do is basically write an exam. So I just pulled up an Indeed website here showing the different jobs available to a fourth class power engineer and the types of money and the type of money you can really make being a power engineer. So here with Suncor, a process operator could be making around $40 an hour. A fifth class power engineer with Canadian Linen and Uniform Services would probably be making $20 to $25 an hour. A relief shift engineer with Saputo, which is a refrigeration plant, I believe they are union and also making about $35 or so. With this building operator position here, you are probably looking at making about $40. Here it's listed at BCIT, you are making $33, and the list pretty much goes on with the LNG field operator just being a fifth class, making almost $40. So as you can see, just going through the Indeed job postings, a power engineer has the ability to make a lot of money very quickly. Continue on. So how to become a power engineer? So number one, you need to take and pass the regulated exam for 4A and 4B, which are the two sections of a power engineering book. So in order to do this, you need to basically sign up for a course most likely, learn the course, and then go through a regulated exam. The next thing you need to do is get firing time, which is also known as experience. Getting firing time for your fourth class isn't very difficult. If you get a job in a building, inside a refrigeration plant, if you're lucky you get a job in oil and gas, you'll be very quick to get this firing time and you'll be making good money while you're doing it. Once you get both of those, you receive your certificate in the mail and you are now a qualified fourth class power engineer. And lastly, all you need to do is, depending on the regulations, you just need to maintain or renew your certificate of competency. Some provinces have a regulation indicating you must renew every 5 years or every 3 years, and some don't have any regulation of renewing at all. So it really depends. You'll need to look up the regulation. I know that in BC, you'll need to renew every 3 years, and I believe in Toronto, you'll also need to renew every 3 years, but don't quote me on those. And this is how you basically become a power engineer at the end of the day. It's a great career, and I would recommend, if you are interested, to take my course in becoming a fourth class power engineer.